somebody. The bottom line is, if you're going to use any kind of force, there has to be some kind of imminent threat. Not even lethal force, but any kind of force, really. There should be some kind of imminent threat. If I'm just defying you with my words, that doesn't give you the right to harm me physically in any way, lethal or not. Period. There's no way to justify that. I defy anyone to justify you telling me that you have the right to physically harm me because you don't like what I'm saying.
That is unacceptable. Now, on the other end of that, though, that's the people. I'm not going to take credit for this myself because I like to treat everybody with respect, but we created that mentality in cops too, and it is the truth, because we pushed them to that point where they identify themselves as something different than human and like a regular person, because that's how they've been treated for so long at the same time. I promise you, because I have the intel of what they eat on a daily basis. Now, but listen, I'm going to give you another analogy to it. It's like gangs. You don't join a gang because you're strong. You don't join a gang because you know how to fight for yourself.
Right.
You join a gang because you feel weak, because you feel threatened, because you need acceptance.
And you need backup.
Exactly. I need backup. I can't fight this fight by myself. I need 30 other people to jump this one guy with me.
Right.
So the same thing happens. It's simple psychology, and that's what these guys go through.
But here's my thing. I don't necessarily buy it that they have that mentality because of the people completely. I'd say 50%.
Not completely.
50%. The other percent is because they went through this special initiation where they got to learn how to shoot. Now they get to wear this fancy uniform with this fancy badge. They get all this cool stuff, and now they're part of a club, and now they're part of this elite.
And
now they feel, naturally, they feel elevated, to a certain level.
Absolutely.
And that's natural, but and that's where it comes into having people who have a higher IQ and B, a little bit of integrity, to where they can humble themselves and realize that this is an honor. It's not you're some kind of special elite badass.
Right.
You're put in a position of honor and respect and integrity, and you're a protector. That's your first job. You're a servant. You're a protector, and to know that, and to be humble,
Absolutely.
and not feel like you're part of this gang. Now you're a badass, and now you have the authority to kill with permission.
At its root, it is murder, because murder is the intention to kill people for whatever reason, not self-defense, meaning my life was being threatened.
Right.
My life was in danger, so I had no choice but to kill.
Right.
And there's a major difference there. But it's a very, I guess it is a hot topic after all, because if we don't deal with it now, it will grow and grow completely out of control. And just like the young man in the music video or the rap video stated, he's like, man, if you push people past the breaking point, remember, there's more of them than you.
Right.
Man, we don't want to see that.
Right.
We definitely don't want to see what, LA did with Rodney King beatings and stuff like that, because that's pointless and useless. Mm-hmm. Why not correct it now? Why not, give the information and spread the information to where it's in public ear, where law enforcement officials and their supervisors can correct it now, like a child. Right. Don't try to correct them.
I'll take it a step further. And it goes back to what I was saying about reminding them of their oaths. Because here's the thing, like I always say, everything that I do, and I'm speaking of me personally in regards to this show and everything that I discuss, it's always with the background knowledge, again, for myself, that all of these things that we're talking about are intentional. Whether it's GMO, whether it's aspartame, whether it's fluoride in the water, whether it's police brutality, whatever the case may be, it's all for an end game.
Right.
So when we're talking about police brutality...
You mean like bayonets being sent out to police officers?
Or no hesitation targets, for training.
That's a little fishy there.
Right. So...
What are you going to do with that bayonet, sir?
Right. So this is my point, is that rather than us as citizens get to the point to where we get so upset, for lack of a better term, about the police brutality, the obvious escalation of police brutality and abuse of power, because that's not gonna help anything.
Nope.
We can't meet violence with violence. Instead, what we should be doing is constantly reminding them of their oaths and to be humble and have a little bit of integrity. Because at the end of the day, all of these things are intentionally leading to an end game, and the end game is eventually martial law. Martial law, when the New World Order completes all of their little games that they're playing through, NDAA and the wars, in the Middle East and the GMOs, and the list goes on and on. the police are just another piece to that puzzle.
You know, you may be right. And again, I know that people do conspire and have bad intentions. So, like, you know, we're going to talk about Monsanto here in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But when they... Okay, first off, the world's not starving. The system is starving the people. There's plenty of food out there.
Oh, yeah.
And I can go on a tangent about it. I know and have plenty of information about how much food that we throw out that's perfectly fine. It can be frozen and sent out to every starving person.
That'd be a great topic for another episode. Absolutely. So remember that.
And Americans, the obesity level here is so extreme. We're not starving. I'm sorry, we're not.
No.
Monsanto is a marketing scheme, and somebody enlightened it to me years ago about the patenting of seeds and the way that they're raping farmers of not only their income but the power to reproduce off a seed by having terminator seeds.
Right.
And you know, if you don't know what any of that stuff is, do yourself a favor, look into it, because if you have kids or want to have children and you have people that you love, this stuff actually does matter.
Right.
They're going to be eating these products that are known to cause cancer in animals.
Right. Which we're actually going to be getting to an article about that in just a moment. And what I wanted to say really quickly to just touch on your point would be for people to look up, if you have Netflix, look up a great documentary on there called Food Inc. And that goes into all of that, everything that we're talking about here in regards to the GMOs and the food supply in general, and touches largely on Monsanto especially. So definitely look that up. And in just a few moments here, Joseph will be reading an article that was sent to us by our weekly contributing op-ed writer and good friend, Dr. Richard Belmonte, which you can find on our website, talkfreedom.webs.com, and it's in the Doctor's Corner section. He's contributing a weekly article. Last week it was about the dangers of vaccines, and this week it's about GMOs. So you can go there and read the article yourself, but we're actually going to read it live on air here. And I guess we can just go ahead, since you already touched on the topic, we can go ahead and get right into it.
Yeah, go ahead and set it up for us. And I would like to do a future segment on the dangers of truth. Because when people realize what's happening, they're going to make changes. So...
Right. Well, then who is it dangerous to?
What is truth?
To the system. To the New World Order.
Man.
All right, so the name of this article is Hell No to GMOs.
Hell no GMO. Hell
Love
no.
it.
All right, I don't think that's officially cussing. But Richard is a doctor, so he's already done research on all this stuff, and, you know, it's very extensive. This is a very hot topic for me because I'm very anti-GMO. To elaborate, there's been no crop in history that gives cancer to rodents. Rodents are pretty durable, and they can eat iron, steel, gold. They can eat anything and prosper and thrive and continue. It's an irony. And then they're given Monsanto products, and they develop tumors and die.
Wow,
so,
excellent point. I've thought about that before.
You know what? It's scary. I can kill a rat with the food that I'm going to ingest and give to my kids.
Right.
Well, I'm confused.
Right. It's frightening.
All right, where's the crickets?
We got it. Yeah, we got to load in that cricket.
It's in there somewhere. I used it one time. All right, so opinion article by Dr. Richard Belmonte. The current GMO produce that are currently available are corn, zucchini, squash, papaya, sugar beets, alfalfa, cotton, canola, and soy. GMO crops are used in about 70 to 80% of the total processed and prepackaged foods that are available to purchase in the United States. The next big GMO product that's being pushed by Monsanto is GMO wheat, which would further increase Monsanto's presence on the food market. So what is the big fuss about GMOs? This article intends to cover the issues with GMO consumption in America. This article will provide you with information on the biological effects of consuming GMO products and how to avoid GMO products if you decide that it's within your best interest to consume these products. Now, Richard, I do adore you. It is in your best interest. I'm just going to I don't even want you to decide. I want you to look into, not you, Richard, but our listeners, look into what actually happens with these products. And, man, watch the arguments, etc. Again, this is your future. And if wheat is on the horizon, Wheat is in everything, bread, etc. It's used as fillers and oh my goodness. All right, so back to the article. The acronym GMO stands for Genetically Modified Organism. Monsanto modifies the genetic material of certain produce in order for it to produce proteins that make it resistant to the main pesticide that Monsanto uses, called Roundup, which is a glycophosphate-derived pesticide. The crops are also genetically modified to produce a protein that causes insects to die when they ingest portions of the plant. The pesticide Roundup is known to cause intestinal inflammation, cancer, and destroy beneficial gut flora. The effects of the protein that cause insects, pardon me here, we just went a little blank screen. The effect of the protein that causes insects to die when they ingest the plant is not completely understood. Well, that's science you can really depend on. We're not quite sure what it does. Right. Here, Russian roulette. This is a 357. Spin it, shoot it at your head. It'll taste good. However, one can deduce from the result of insects dying that it may not be completely beneficial to life in general. So why, when we consume these products, do we not suddenly die? Well, the human body is an amazing organism. We have very sophisticated and efficient methods of detoxification that allows us to consume non-lethal doses of toxins and still be able to live. The detoxification mechanism in our body can handle weekly GMO consumption. The potential problems, however, are through daily consumption of GMO products. Daily consumption can cause an overwhelming amount of stress on the GI tract, that's gastrointestinal tract, and the rest of the body. The potential implications of consuming these products on a daily basis include the killing off of beneficial gut flora and intestinal inflammation. This leads to nutritional deficiencies, an increase in autoimmune disorders or symptoms, and increased incidence of allergies and decrease the ability of our bodies to be able to fight off infections. Notice a theme? If you said the immune system, well, you're right. The gastrointestinal tract actually is involved with 70% of the body's daily immune system functions. The implications on the health of the country as a whole are staggering. Over the past decade, there have been increases in autoimmune types of conditions, allergies, and cancers. Fibromyalgia wasn't even a disease a decade ago, and now it's a condition that affects so many people. Could increased GMO consumption by the public be a contributing factor? Given what we know, it's highly likely. And because of these probable health implications associated with GMO crops, they are illegal to be sold in every other country, almost every other country. However, with the United States not being one of them, it's going to take all of our collective efforts to get rid of this potential health crisis on the people. So what can we do to deter this? Well, consumer demand always drives the activity of a corporation. So, quite simply, we can avoid purchasing these products. There are currently measures on the ballots in many states that, if passed, will mandate the crops that are GMO to be labeled so that the consumer can make the informed decision in buying these products. Currently, Monsanto is going through great lengths through lobbying and through political ads to deter voters from voting on the labeling that would only serve to benefit the consumer. This is especially true of the state of Oregon, where voters will be able to decide if GMO labeling will be mandatory in Oregon. Purchasing organic and non-processed food is another way to avoid poisonous food. However, these types of foods do tend to be more expensive. Tougher choices then need to be made concerning our budgets, and we have to ask ourselves certain questions. Are there things that I normally spend money on that can be eliminated from my budget, such as purchasing alcohol, tobacco, cable, satellite TV, etc.? Do I value health more than these other products enough to make a switch? Also, it must be noted that eating healthier, while it might be more expensive in the short term, can have a profound effect of our long-term health care, and it can result in less visits to the doctor and less dependence on prescription drugs, which in effect make eating organic, non-processed foods less expensive. Long term. It should be noted that Monsanto just reported a loss of over $100 million over the past financial quarter. This is a reflection of the efforts by the people of the USA to take an increased interest in the types of food that they're consuming and by voting every day with their pocketbooks. Let's hope the measure in Oregon passes